I'm Chris Nabel. I live in this van 3 years full-time now. It's a 2006 T1N Sprinter, 158 wheelbase, 276,000 miles on it, but it's the million-mile Sprinter, so they say it'll keep going. The paint job on the van was a little rough, and I've always been a sticker guy. I had a fridge at home that was just as covered as this van is. Naturally, I wanted to keep the tradition going, and I thought it was a good way to help tell the story. Most of these stickers do have a story. They weren't just random ones that I picked up, like this one right here. The guy actually looks just like this. He showed up at a skate park where there was a contest going on. He was like, oh man, this is cool. Here's your sticker. Smiled with it, and it was just perfect. He looks just like this. It was great. That's one sticker, and there's literally thousands on this van. So I have a generator up front, and the mounting system that I have here, I can take it apart here, and I have a gas-powered winch that I also put up there for street-style wakeboarding and skimboarding. So I leave this generator here whenever I drive. People often ask this one, but it is very solid. It's not going anywhere. I took the wheels off of it and bolted it with U-bolts through the plate, so it is, like I said, solid as a rock. With the exterior of the van, I wanted some kind of natural light. I did put these windows in. They were not too bad, but I am handy with tools. On the roof, I've got a grand total of 760 watts of solar. The penetration you can see back here with the propane vent, that is my water heater coming through. I've got a Wii Boost antenna right here, and in traffic it was slapping my solar panel, so I zip tied it in there so that if I ever do hit anything, the zip tie will break instead of damaging the antenna, but it's no longer slapping at me thinking that I was just hit by something as I was driving down the road. Stickers, again, there's so many stories with stickers. This portion of the van is dedicated to ski resorts. I'm a huge fan of snowboarding, have been my whole life. Traveled all over, been literally all over the states here. I'm way behind. This season will continue all the way across because I did go that many, and then the season that we're on this year, I'm gonna stick there. But I'm waiting till the end, that way I can get my sizing right to better fill an area. Got my fresh water right here. This was shore power, but with the generator, I was having to constantly wrap the van with a cord and just did away with it. Left the plug here, but was shore power. So to start with, the back bumper. On the first van, this is van number 2. The first van got T-boned and totaled. We'll get into that in a minute. The back bumper was grindable on a bicycle. I missed that feature with this one because of this grate, so I welded a piece of angle on here so that we actually have a portable grind rail with the van. I've hit it on a snowboard, a skateboard, and a bicycle. From there, let's go into the garage. I have a ton of toys. If we can look up in there, there is a grand total of 3 wakeboards. There are 6 snowboards in this van, 2 bicycles. I'm not even sure on skateboards. I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 skateboards. I bought a lot of skateboards to give away to kids all over the country because I love skateboarding and I wanted to give back. In my shower area, during the winter, it doubles as the snowboard storage because they're always wet and dripping, all of that stuff. So we throw them in here whenever wintertime is going on. Whenever it's summer, I take them apart. They go into that board rack, and the bindings go into this cabinet that I'm about to show you, and all of that disappears, so it makes it a lot easier to jump into the shower. You don't have to constantly move all of these things out just to be able to shower and get clean. While I was cleaning this out, he said, I'm kind of thinking about jumping ship and going to a van. I told him the number one reason that I went with a van is with all of this stuff in here, with my 40 gallons of fresh water full, with the gas tank full, with it fully weighted down, I get 24 miles to the gallon out of this thing. So when everybody's complaining about fuel prices, I don't really notice it. This is my shower. It is actually a large space. You can fit 2 people in here. It pops apart quickly. This is literally just a piece of plastic that slides out. We have 2 drawers in here. I have my propane. We're getting a lot of wind now. Propane access. My water pump is right here if I need to access it for anything. This wall is on wing nuts. It's not super fast to take apart, but it is doable.
Your camera wet. I feel bad.
Thank you. Okay, now this pops apart, and whenever I slide this out of the way, we have access to 2 very large drawers.
Oh, wow.
Right, there's tons of stuff. So all those sunglasses, my father used to sell sunglasses and he passed. We had the bright idea, it's not very large, let's take it with us and maybe we can sell them at events, shows, whatever, and we've not sold a single pair of sunglasses yet. And right here, I have quick access to my hand tools. I don't know why I have a ton of spray paint here, but I just can't throw it away. Helmets, pads, extra bike parts, and all the tools needed. Fresh water, and inside here, I've not opened it in forever. Inside here, there is a pump that I can actually pump from a stream, filter it, and not have to leave to go get water. That's it for the exterior. Now let's take a look at the inside. All right, so up front, I really didn't do anything. This was an old FedEx van, and FedEx, they don't need a passenger seat because very rarely is there a passenger. More times than not, they need room for packages. This little jump seat folds and gets out of the way here, but I use basically the front just for storage. I've got a bin up here for dirty clothes. During snowboard season, my snowboard boots live up here. Recently got into disc golf. Literally have too many hobbies, but just got into disc golf. That stays up here. I've got an air conditioner for whenever it is hot and we are in humid, hot regions. So what I do with this, I actually just roll it up in either the driver or passenger window, whichever is angled more downhill, so that the water that it generates will run out. And I've found that it works really, really well. I can put it up front, take a little bitty DC fan, set it right here on the dash, blow the cold air back, and it cools this space really well, very cheaply. Run it off the generator up front. I can plug it directly in from the window to the generator, so super efficient on how that sets up too. Since it was a FedEx van, it was already outfitted with this divider door. And again, just like the exterior of the van, it was kind of ugly, so covered it with stickers. That's the male way of painting things, I believe. Above my fridge, we have a quick removable door there that I stuff breakfast goodies up there. And then for the fridge, this is actually an AC fridge. I do not recommend this at all. The only reason that this one stayed in the second van was these stickers are the only stickers that survived the crash from the first van. So I couldn't get rid of the fridge only for that reason. Otherwise, I would have a DC fridge in here because this pulls literally 3 to 5 times the amount of power that DC fridges are pulling, from what I'm hearing from all of my friends. Below it, just 2 junk drawers. Literally junk drawers. And then the toilet, it's on 500-pound hinges, slides out in the floor, nice and sturdy there, slides back out of the way. I say this to anyone who asks because I am not sponsored by Nature's Head. I'll tell you the truth, not worth it at all. I'm not sponsored by them, so I can tell you the truth. I paid over $1,000 for this thing. The fan quit working the very first time I washed it. It is a pain in the butt to empty and clean and everything in between. Horrible design. What I would recommend is watch some videos for some homemade DIYs, because for less than $100, you can make one that is way more efficient than this. It's just not as pretty. This area right here, first off, I've got my map that I am over a year behind on updating my spider web of where I've been. These are all of my power monitors. I've got a shunt on just the solar, on just the AC, on just the DC, and then on the battery itself so that I can see what's coming in or going out there. This is the inexpensive way to monitor your power. These are only around $11 to $20 a piece on Amazon versus the Victron. I can't even remember the prices, but I know that it's a lot higher for the monitor that way. The drawback to this is it does not Bluetooth to my phone. So if I'm not sitting here looking at the screen, it doesn't tell me what it has. I was trying to save more money on the build. I actually need to I was just saying I need to redo my numbers here, but I'm somewhere around 15 to 16,000 for this entire build, van included. That was the reason why I went with components like this. I did not skimp so much on my wiring. We'll get a shot of that, but I utilized every space that I could. This is my spice rack, food storage below it. We keep all the snacks in here because the kids raid all the snacks in the bus. The junk stays in here so that they can't go through it as quickly. So in this area, I didn't put a curtain in here to make it pretty because I'm a male, I'm not as worried about the photos like the rest of the women that you normally get footage of. So this is my just garage understorage continued from the back. I've got one wheels in here on some homemade mounts that I put in there so that they stay secure. Shoe rack up under there. Book bags of several different sorts for whatever we're doing that day. Again, I participate in too many hobbies. There's even a paddleboard shoved up under there, but it's like really crammed in there. This is a tote bin of just random hardware supplies. My S-bar heater is right here, and it is ducted towards the back also so that I don't freeze on the water pump area, because that area does get very cold. Even though the rest of the van is warm, I was telling him that I've actually had my water tank freeze before. I've got it solved now. It blows heat down the side of my tank, and I have tank heaters on it. But because the tank actually contacts so much of the bottom of the van, it gets cold enough that it'll freeze. The other drawback to that is it also brings the water temperature down low enough that your water heater doesn't work well. One way that I found to combat that, there is a long shower hose, and I literally loop that from my water heater back over into the tank, because I filmed the Wonderbox and he had it hard plumbed in, but I didn't have a way to reconfigure my system. If I could redo it, I would redo it and make it to where there is just a hot water valve that dumps right back into the tank. That way you can literally loop your hot water heater and slowly bring the temperature of the tank back up so that you can actually use it for a pleasant shower instead of one that you are just surviving. This is also my table that I use for editing, to eat, everything in between. 300-pound hinges on that also so that it's nice and sturdy and we don't ever break it. This area, I have a microwave and my food storage, or food cooking storage. I've got a jet boil just like everyone else does. Most of my cooking is done with just a single burner right here in the floor, quick and easy. I had the 2-burner Coleman stove, but due to the nature of the sizing and the layout, I would have to pull this table out, set it up, and then if I needed anything, I'm sitting on my food storage. It's hard to reach the fridge. It's inconvenient. So this area was originally dedicated for a 2-burner Coleman stove, and now it's just random junk because I totally got rid of it. It was so inconvenient that I just totally got rid of it. Went with a single burner. I have also another jet boil and a regular camp stove. The reason why I have so many is there's been areas during the pandemic where you can't find propane. You can't find propane anywhere. So we needed a secondary option, and I wanted multiple ways to be able to cook. I've got propane, the natural gas, and then Victoria also has a couple different methods to cook too, and we are always traveling together now, so we're covered in that sense now. Here I have my sink, and this is a filtered tap for drinking water. My sink is actually straight piped out. I did a little research whenever I first was doing the build, just like many of you others have, and I was expecting to spend most of my time on BLM land. In their handbook, it says if you have a gray tank and you drain it, it is illegal. If you do not have a gray tank, if it is straight piped to the ground, it is legal. The reason why, the tank can grow invasive species that are not native to the area, and you can introduce them that way. Whereas if you are just washing something and letting it go, it doesn't have time to grow those invasive bacteria. The filtration system is located right up under here. It's a 3-stage filtration, and that's pretty much it for the sink. So in the bed area, I've got a full-size bed here. I did trim it around these cabinets. I trimmed around, I think, 3 inches off each side, so it's kind of like a T-shaped mattress now. In either window, I've got all kinds of stuff stored in here. I would highly recommend, if you're planning this, get used to buying these. This is a lifesaver. Whether you have a pet or not, you constantly are tracking things into your bed. Lint rollers are a must. Literally just junk in both sides. I got camera storage, drones, all of that just shoved in here. All of your normal quick access stuff, you know, underwear, socks, that good stuff. Up here, this cabinet, I actually travel with a vinyl cutter. The first van that I had, I was T-boned in Frisco, Colorado, and it flipped the van, totaled it. I had already we just ran a rough guesstimate, and it was somewhere around $1,500 worth of stickers on that van. And whenever I looked at trying to replace those stickers to mimic what it was originally looking like versus buying another cutter and just cutting my own, it was much cheaper to buy my own cutter and replace what I could with that. Some of the stickers on the van I've made myself, but I've hit the point where, other than like ski resort stickers where it's the same thing repetitive over and over, I just wait until people hand me a sticker on the road. And now that my van looks like it does on the outside, it's a very regular occurrence. There's actually a sticker on the passenger door that was put on in traffic. I do not advise this. I want to only have this story happen one time, but we were going 50 miles an hour down the road. The guy held it up, pointed, said, "Yeah, sure." I don't know what I was thinking, what he was thinking, but he stuck a sticker on my passenger side door in traffic. Again, stories to every single one of them. I have a TV back here that is honestly too big now. I had a 32-inch in the first one. I think this is a 40. Now it's so big that whenever you're laying in bed, you can actually hit your head on it. Very loud 6x9 speakers in here. That is one thing that I've always been a fan of, is loud music, and it is extremely loud. I purposely put my radio in the back so that I could take the aux cord and jack straight over into the TV and have surround sound off of my radio too, because when you're driving, you're going to be Bluetoothing it anyway, and it will definitely reach in the distance of the van, so why not? Back here, there is also an Xbox 360 and a shelf for the Wii Boost back here. I also have 2 Max Air fans, one directly over your head so that whenever you're laying in bed, you can pull the air across you, through each window, across you and out, and then one over the main area so that whenever I'm cooking, I can also suck the gases and the exhaust from that out. The rest of these cabinets are pretty much just clothing storage. I go through a decent amount of clothing because I'm so active. That's the reason why there's such a large dirty clothes bin that is always overflowing too. So this thing on the wall is just a bag holder. So all of your extra Walmart bags or store bags, you just shove in the top, and it's just a dispenser for them. And this is a free trash bag because 1, it's accessible. 2, you don't need a large trash bag when you're in a small space. And 3, you're probably going to be disposing of it at a gas station or something to where it's a small trash can. These fit through the opening. Van life hack there.
Did you insulate the van?
Yes.
So what did you use for insulation? And it looks like that's cedar, maybe?
That's actually pine, which
Okay.
The drawback to using honestly any wood, but specifically a softer wood, is the expansion and contraction between the different climates all over the United States. No matter where you buy this wood from, if you actually travel the entire US, you're going to go through a different climate to where everything's going to swell, shrink. It's a constant fight. Like things like your tables will start to split and crack. The chopping block tops, I've noticed everybody's putting these in their vans, but they're starting to have issues in areas where the seams are just, it's expanding and contracting enough that it's breaking the glue in there. Maybe that's not the greatest idea to use the butcher's block top that we're seeing in every build.
What did you use for insulation?
For insulation, I used foam board and Great Stuff. I actually cut the foam board in all of the holes that I could and then sealed each board in the cavity with Great Stuff around the outer perimeter.
How long have you been doing van life, and do you see an end in sight, or doing it forever, you know?
I am almost 3 years in full time, and honestly for myself, I see no end in sight. The only thing that I could foresee is maybe, just maybe, I'll do enough laps around the country that I feel like I've seen it all and experienced it all, and I may want to go international at that point. And I don't know if this van is feasible for that, or if it's feasible to buy another van in another country, or how to do it. But that's the only thing that I could see changing long term. Personally, I love this life. All right, so the number one question we get on the road is, what do you do for money? And I have a very unique answer compared to most. So I learned a skilled trade from a very young age. My father was a ceramic tile contractor, and the area that I'm from, he was the best in the area, and all of his customers in the area grew up, or they were used to seeing me on the job site, so they knew that I learned from the best. So whenever he retired, it was very easy for me to start my business named the family name, which is a very rare name, and I basically just had a cakewalk as far as that goes. That being said, I did well enough in the business that whenever I do need to work, all I have to do is make one phone call, and I can run home, do a job for a week or two, and have enough money to travel for another year. This life is so inexpensive because I do not have bills. I was raised in a way that I was exposed to a lot of things very young. And I remember a concrete contractor that he explained to me that to him, credit was the devil's bank. And the man seemed to do really well for himself. We got on the conversation because I was nosy and asked him, hey, how did you afford to do all this stuff? And he explained to me that if you don't use credit, you can do way better than many others with less work. Personally, because of all of the hobbies that I have, I wanted to spend as little amount of time at work as possible. So I stayed debt-free the entire time. I drove vehicles that were older, just like this one here. I explained this vehicle was only $6,000 new. Most people are spending 40 to 50 grand for their vans. Everyone's number one question is, what are you gonna do if a transmission goes out? What are you gonna do if a motor blows up? Well, if you do the math right there, I've got somewhere between $34,000 and $44,000 to replace transmissions, motors, and every other maintenance issue I could possibly have. Well, because I don't have a debt accrued with the van, I'm not forced to work every day like everyone else is, because there is not a monthly payment on this. I paid full price for it up front. That's how I've structured my life and made it to where I can just go play every day. So my van life experience is much more pleasant than most, because I'm not cooped up in this small space for 5 to 7 hours a day doing office stuff right here. I'm literally out there playing every day, full time.
All right, let's hear your number one van life tip.
So after 3 years of van life and having many cops and many interactions with the deadly knock in the night, I talk to them and want to know why. Why are you kicking us out? Well, the number one reason why is because they don't have a compost toilet, and because of COVID, Walmart is not open 24 hours a day anymore. So we're having a problem with people who don't have a restroom in their van shitting in the bushes and leaving trash behind. That is why we are struggling to find places to park now. Guys, handle your waste in a proper way. Dispose of it in a way that it's going to go to a landfill without another human having to touch it. That would save van life.
All right, the big one. So how did you get into van life?
Not really. It's heavy. So this is a very hard story for me to tell. I get choked up often, but from all the board sports, I've knocked myself out over 33 times. I was a stubborn kid. I didn't wear a helmet. And when I did, they were usually cheap, shitty. I have CTE. I can't control my emotions. I anger easily. I never had a temper, never was violent, never was mean. Often I find that I am now. And I literally can't control it. I wonder where I first found out about it and learned that you're literally helpless because they can't see it until post-mortem. I hit a point where I tied a noose. I sat in front of that noose for over 2 hours just trying to think if there was anything that I had not done that I wanted to do before I stood up and put it around my neck and just sat down. And as I stood up to do it, there was a random knock at the door. Wasn't expecting anyone. It was a friend going hiking. Said, for some reason I figured you'd want to go. Well, we went to an area that I'd been to many times, but for some reason 2 trees caught my attention that I'd never noticed before. In my mind, I was still going home to continue with the act until I saw those 2 trees, and it hit me. You've not seen the redwoods yet. You need to go see the redwoods. So I was at a low enough point that I was struggling at the time. I was not, like I said before, I wasn't in debt, but I was struggling just to financially to make it. And I was wondering, how do I do this? How do I go see these redwoods? Because that's the only thing that I need to do before I leave this world. And in searching how to go do it, I stumbled across van life. And I thought, all right, well, this is a way that I can stretch it out. And there's a few other stops. Once I started thinking about it, I was like, there's a few other places across this nation that I've not seen that I'd like to see on the way out there. And honestly, I originally was just going to go see the trees and then be done. But the van literally saved me. There's not enough hours in the day now. And now I'm doing everything I can to try to prevent more concussions, to study ways that other people are finding ways around this disease. And I've noticed that one thing that literally helps it more than anything is being outside in nature. I don't understand why. I don't understand how it works, but so no, I don't know why, but whenever you're in a mental torment, at least I've noticed, and I've talked to many other people across the nation who are battling symptoms of it, when you get yourself outside and just go look at something pretty or go hike, or in our cases, that when we get it from extreme sports, it's crazy, but when we have the adrenaline high flowing through our veins, it counteracts it. It works. So it's one of those things, like, people ask me all the time, why do you still participate in these sports? Well, that's one of the most free times of my entire existence now, is whenever I'm cruising on some type of board, not caught up in my own head, my own thoughts that are twisted now because of this disease. So how did I get into van life? I almost ended my life, and van life saved me. Again, I'm Chris Nabel. This is a 2006 T1N Mercedes Sprinter, or actually Dodge Sprinter. They're all the same. If you guys would like to check out my adventures and see where all I've been, my YouTube channel is linked in the description. Thanks for watching. See you guys later.